Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak, this podcast. I am your stormy host, Jesse Tender. I'm joined as always by...
It's Vera. You were so uncertain of that one.
Yeah. I was going to say Maelstromy, but I'm like, that's not a word.
That hasn't stopped you before.
That's true. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I hit 100,000 subscribers
Yes,
over the
I
weekend.
saw. Congratulations. Now you can get your little plaquey thing.
Well, not until October. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't apply for it because until my bullshit community violation is over a year in the past. So
wow, that's stupid. I mean, if it makes you this won't make you feel better, but I have my plaque. Up on the wall over here. You can't.
Yeah, no, that made me feel better. Oddly.
No. That was all I wanted to say. That was the entirety of the story. No, I just wanted to say, well, I have mine. I hope that makes you feel better. You know.
That's what matters.
Yeah. What happened was I got 100K subscribers, but then I moved around the same time. So I had ordered it and I had like a forwarding address, but my thing never got forwarded to me. So it took like a year of like back and forth with YouTube being like, can I get a new one? How do I get a new one? What do I do for a new one? And you can like order one, but they're ridiculously expensive. I'm like, but I never got the original one. Is there any way I could do it for free? So
because the first one they just give you.
Yeah, the first one they give you, and then you can order more if like you have like people who work on your team or whatever that you want to give it to. But yeah, no. So it was just a pain in the ass. I did eventually get it, but it was like it took a year to get it myself too for various odd reasons. And like doing anything that requires talking to YouTube proper is already a pain in the ass. And then also like the way it works is like there's a separate company I think that does the plaques that they do it with. It's a whole thing. So
yeah.
But
yeah, that happened. Only took almost 13 and a half years.
Yeah, well, you did it still. Congratulations. That is a big deal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now you got to get Break Room of Geeks up there. And also you got to get your what's the next one? 1 million subscribers when you get the next one?
Yeah.
You'll get there. We can get there. We'll both get there. Neither of us are ever hitting neither of us are ever hitting 1 million. I mean, if a video goes wild, I might hit 500K. It was probably if I hit 500K by the end of my YouTube career, I'll consider that like a good.
Yeah, I do not ever expect to hit another milestone.
Yeah.
I have zero expectation to ever hit 200K. Like, I joke that it took me 13 years. Like, I knew I'd get to 100K eventually. Mm-hmm. I knew I would get there eventually if I kept doing this.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. I have zero expectation of ever hitting another major milestone as far as subscriber count goes. That like, it's not impossible, but it's not realistic either.
Yeah.
So
no, I doubt I'll get it too. Like I said, 500K would be like that's probably like if I retire from YouTube at 500K, I'll consider that a successful career for myself. So
yeah. Did a lot over the weekend. Went to a friend's burlesque show that they produced on Friday, which was good. It was a little too long, but it was good. Mm-hmm. Hosted a Valentine's show on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Sunday, my boyfriend and I went and saw a stage production of Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, nice. How was it?
It was fun. It leaned a little bit more comedic than I think I would have done with. Like, I know that there's like some funny bits in that. It leaned into them a little harder than I think I would have, but
it's a different take.
It was good. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many takes on Murder on the Orient Express. It's nice to try someone with a little bit of different flavor to it. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. No,
that and I have no water in my house because there was a water main break yesterday. So
that's always good.
I am on day 2 of no water,
especially during the winter. That's even better.
Yeah. Joy.
Yeah. Well,
But
fun, fun, fun.
it's okay.
Well,
I have other things.
I yeah, we did for Valentine's Day. Aaron and I, we went out to a restaurant nearby, and we ended up not liking it, but it was a fun experience because we both disliked the experience. It was one of those like, ooh, we could judge it together, which was good. Um,
Sometimes that's the most fun you're gonna have.
yeah, it was odd. Our waiter was like the most judgmental waiter ever. Like it was like a nice restaurant. It was like it wasn't like, the Ritz or anything, but it was a nice restaurant. Like there was families there with their kids there for Valentine's Day or whatever. But like I wasn't like we weren't schlubbing it, but like I was wearing a sweater and jeans. I wasn't like super high end, but it was like this sense of like looking down at us from the waiter that was like, and there was this weird moment at the end where it was like I'm giving low end of the tip, and then like she saw what I had tipped, and she's like, "Oh, you went that low?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He gets $8 because he was very judgy. I'm giving him the low end of the tip, and she was like, "Oh, okay." And then she she felt bad. I'm like, "No, you gave him a fine tip. Your tip was fine, dear. I just didn't like the man, so he gets a bad tip for me." So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna not tip because that's an assholeish thing to do when so many people rely on it. But he was oddly judgy, so no good tip for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, screw that guy.
yeah, he was an ass. He was an asshole. But yeah, that was our time. But that was a little bit of the day in the life of us on Valentine's Day. And speaking of, we're going to be talking about the comments from the episode "A Day in the Life." What a good coinkydink.
Yeah, that one was a gimme. We talked about that when
Yeah,
we
yeah, we did. Yeah,
recorded
we
it.
did. We did. First one's up. We got Megan says, Jesse, you need to stream Sonic Racing now. We need to see your mad skills. Referring to the fact that I can beat Sonic Racing in less than an hour. I did it once on stream. A few years ago, I did a stream of Sonic Racing, and I unlocked everything in less than an hour. It was a good time. So, mm-hmm.
So
Uh,
Megan, you've got to dig through the live archives on
yes.
Jesse's channel is what you
There's
need to
so
do.
there it's like 3 or 4 years ago. It was a while ago, so it was one of my early streams, but it exists. Honest Iago says, I get where Vera's coming from with the presentation of Carol Ann, but I agree with Jesse that it's different enough to the head characters, both in how it's depicted and what the purpose is, that it doesn't feel too repetitive to me. Not sure if this was the intent, but I feel like it works well with Galactica needing maintenance. It's not just the ship that hasn't had time to repair because they're constantly running, it's the people too. So yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think my biggest criticism of this episode, it feels like it takes place too late in the series. The Adama stuff feels like it would have worked better in season 1 or 2, and we're still getting to know him.
There's a fair amount of stuff that's gone on in this season that I think probably would have played better done
Mm.
earlier in the show.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree on that front. Um, Not some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, but
The-
we'll get there. We'll get there.
hmm.
Uh-huh. Let's see. Oh, 25580. This was also very interesting. We know from some accidents and very unethical animal experiments that being exposed to hard vacuum for short periods is actually very survivable. Like aside from burst blood vessels, I don't think it'll actually even leave with you with any lasting injuries. Also, the thing with the pressure chamber is nonsense. You can take a person from vacuum to normal air pressure fine.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I did not know that.
Science.
Yeah, I did learn, and I had to check with my friend. So, our mutual friend, Dr. Erin McDonald, I had to check with her on this because I was like, "This is dumb, right? This is stupid." Because apparently Elon Musk wants to put a data servers in space because he's like, "Oh, it'll be cooled by the vacuum of space," and I'm like,
The vacuum
"That's
of space doesn't have a temperature.
Yes, it's actually hot, and actually like what was this, let's see, what did she say to me? Give me a second, I need to find this because this was like fascinating to me, and I'm
Like
like,
my I'll probably be wrong because you're about to get the answer of a real scientist,
yeah, she's an astrophysicist, but yeah,
but
please go.
as I understand it, like the whatever the current temperature of a thing that'll dissipate in space, but it's not like it's getting cooled off by it.
Yes, you don't cool. You actually you radiate heat, but you don't like freeze. It's why any depiction of in TV shows where you see someone go into space and they instant like freeze or whatever. That's not
Yeah.
actually what happens. The worst thing I think what happens is if you like have to expel the air from your lungs because there'll be like the pressure change. But like you won't freeze instantaneously. You will radiate heat. Like there's nothing that like insulates you like air does.
Yeah.
But like you won't like freeze instantaneously. And actually, space is quite hot because it's where the sun is.
It's where cosmic radiation that we have like multiple layers of atmosphere protecting us from. All that's out there.
Yeah, exactly. But this is
Fucking
what she
idiot.
said. Most satellites have the operating demand of a wireless router. Oh, wait, space doesn't cool things, quite the opposite. It insulates incredibly well, and thus things we send into space need a disproportionately huge surface area for extremely inefficient radiant cooling. Most satellites have the operating demand of a wireless router, and thus pretty low thermal load, but the ISS is like 45% solar panels and 45% radiant cooling, the International Space Station, and they still need to throttle heat and heat generation pretty actively. Space is the single shittiest place to put something that needs to be aggressively cooled. So, just more evidence that Elon
So
Musk is a dummy.
so I think he should funnel a whole bunch of his money into trying to do this. I
Yes.
think we need to encourage him as much as possible to funnel his personal wealth into accomplishing this thing.
We're run by idiots. Drives me up. Oh well. Does wonders for the for imposter syndrome though, because every time I feel imposter syndrome, just go like, just remember, this country's run by the biggest dummies you've ever seen. So
Uh,
if they can do it, you can. uh, so, yep.
that's
What a maelstrom we have in our current administration. And speaking of, let us talk about the episode Maelstrom of Battlestar Galactica.
yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be a favorite of yours.
Hmm.
I already know where it's going. I almost sent you a message being like, warning on this one.
See, I'm not even sure if you realize how many ways I'm gonna get
Oh,
annoyed
I'm
by
sure.
this.
I'm sure. There's one scene in particular. I'm like, ugh. But we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. Well, let's start off with one I know you're not gonna like. Starbuck starts off with her having a dream sequence of her painting her what I'll call the maelstrom throughout this episode because we'll see it many times, but it's the like storm that she's been painting throughout her life that we've seen references to, the like blue and yellow and red sort of
Mm-hmm.
like eye of the storm sort of thing, hurricane that we get to see. She's painting that. She's painting over it with white paint, sort of like racing it out on her wall in her apartment that we saw way back in season 2, I believe. And then Leoben is there, and they start to kiss, and Starbuck starts getting off on it, and they start having sex.
So this was the first of 3 times I wrote "fuck off."
Yep.
This particular instance was "fuck" was lowercase, "off" was all caps with 2 exclamations after it.
So different variations of fuck off this episode.
Yes, yeah. Every "fuck off" I wrote slightly different.
Yes.
So okay, here's what I'm going to say, and this is actually going to end up being the case for a number of the aspects that I hate about this episode, but I will say this up front. It is not impossible to tackle the idea of somebody having erotic dreams about an abuser and like examining someone's relationship with the impacts of abuse. And there's going to be stuff later on that, not specifically Leoben, but there's going to be another abusive dynamic, that there are absolutely ways to explore this and to even like play off and tie together the abusive dynamic she had with Leoben and the other one we're going to get more information about. There are absolutely ways to do this. I went in immediately going, I don't trust this show to do this, though. And to its semi credit, I wasn't positive that they fully botched it until about 3/4 of the way in.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of existed in a super state of, I don't trust you to get this right, but you haven't fucked it yet.
Yeah, that was my
And
experience.
then they did eventually fuck up.
That was my experience this well because it sort of is revealed she's having an erotic dream and whatever, and so I'm like, okay, it's like you could deal with this, but it never really touches upon it. But it's like at least I could read it that way. It was my way of taking it. It's like I can read this in a way that isn't horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Um,
that that isn't gross and exploitative and
yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah. While she's having sex, one thing that does happen is that she looks up at the painted over Maelstrom and it sort of seeps through the paint. So it's still
You
there.
say seeps through it, kind of it has a little bit more
Erases
of
the
the effect
paint.
of almost burning it off.
Yeah, yeah. CGI. It CGI's
Well,
itself through
yes,
the
it
paint.
CGI's through the white paint.
However
And
you wish to
like
describe that
what
CGI.
what effect that is meant to evoke, who knows? It's mid 2000 CGI. I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
yeah, exactly. It's going for a thing. Um, but then Starbuck wakes up from this. Hot Dog was kind of watching, and she says, "Go back to sleep." The next morning, it's Hilo and Starbuck are in the bathroom. They're both up early, and Hilo's sort of saying that Hera's been getting nightmares. She wakes up crying and shaking from the things that happened on New Caprica, which is obviously a parallel to what's going on with Starbuck, and she sort of relates that, and she says, I mean, I wish you had never showed me that mandala. I dream of the open, like she opens up to Hilo. I will say I did at least like that she opens up to Hilo, that there is a like she's not just closing off completely, so that was at least nice to see. Um, but then Hilo sort of suggests first, like, hey, you should see a psychiatrist. There's one over on whatever ship he names. Maybe you should see her. And she says, no, the shrinks are more fracked up than the people that they see. And so he says, okay, well, there's also an oracle in Dogsville, and she interprets dreams, so you should go and see her. And Starbuck sees a vision of a young girl who I'll just reveal now is her when she was a kid, as we'll
Yeah.
reveal later.
I initially wrote down what the fuck was that because I didn't know if it was meant to be her or if it was meant to be what's her freaking name who was the kid that
Hera, the kid from yeah, the kid that she was told was her daughter, but turned out not to be from way back on New
yeah,
Caprica.
like I didn't know who this was supposed to be initially. I'm just going to touch on this slightly. I'm not going to dwell on it because I don't want to make more of a thing out of it than is actually here. I will say it does annoy and I'm not saying it's out of character. It's not. I just don't like the presentation of casually brushing off professional psychiatric help in favor of an oracle.
Hmm.
Like I think a tiny shift in that is if Hilo had presented it had just gone like, look, I know you don't like to talk to shrinks, but here's somebody who you might talk to, as
Hmm.
opposed to floating the idea, shooting it down, and then she sees the oracle instead. Something about presenting it that way rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, it's fair. I see exactly what you're saying, but I also think like, it's fine. It kind of works for Starbucks' character, and it didn't throw me too much.
Again,
Like,
it's one of those things that there are certain situations in which it makes sense for the character does not fully take the curse off something, especially when it's an overall message that I think has the potential to be harmful and there's no counterbalancing
mm,
message to take an opposing view of it. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that is too nuanced for me to usually end up saying in like a YouTube video because people will use the see, I'm now making more of a thing out of this than I wanted to. But broadly speaking, people will use the idea of like, well, it's consistent for the character as like a shield for criticism about like the messaging of someone's actions. And it's like, okay, but regardless of whether or not it makes sense for the character, the way the overall framing within the greater piece, how
mm,
that
mm.
pulls together can still be a problem. Just
Yes.
because it is in character doesn't make it okay.
Yes, and I mean I agree with that assessment. I mean I've made those same assessments before. What what makes this not work for me? I don't it doesn't work for me necessarily, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. The reason I'm not bothered by it, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. Is like this
You're
episode.
you're you're a chronic devil's advocate. We know
Yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah,
We
yeah.
know we know this.
It's just one of those like this isn't the focus of this episode or scene. Like there are shows where it's like, okay, a character does something that's in character that you're like, okay, that the like it works for the character, but like the episode itself doesn't understand it. Big example that we've always used out here is like Garibaldi
Oh
over in
yeah.
Babylon 5. That is probably the example of this where it's like, yeah, it's not out of character for Garibaldi to do this cop shit. As a cop, but the show itself doesn't necessarily seem to be aware of framing it
Yeah.
badly.
Like
Uh,
it's fine that he does it. Be great if the show realized that it's messed up that he does that.
Yes, yes. So that's probably the example of that we use. Whereas here, like the point is they want to do their prophecy shit. So like that, this is just
Yeah.
the thing to get to that point, and so they're like, all right, well, we'll just like she like first people will definitely like suggest Stacy psychiatrist. She's gonna brush it off because that's Starbuck, and then we get to do our prophecy shit. Like it was, you can
Yeah,
see the
and
engineering there.
I'll mention now the realization at the back end that everything that's going to happen this episode is in service of prophecy shit. The moment I realized that we weren't actually exploring abuse dynamics and psychology of Starbucks, we were facilitating prophecy shit, was the moment that I threw my hands up and went, "Yep," and they fucked this up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a scene we'll talk about later when we get there, and I'll give my probably ends up being devil's advocate, but not devil's advocate thoughts on it because I'll end up
I'd
agreeing.
like
We'll get
I'll
there.
just say at the front, there's a fair amount in this episode that is not innately bad, but for me it becomes bad because of what it's in service of, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to what I would prefer anything trying to touch on these kinds of themes should be doing instead,
Yes.
i.e., actually exploring these things as opposed to using them as a vehicle for bullshit.
Yes, and we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. We then have Starbucks going to see the Oracle. She goes in. I weirdly I got the name of the Oracle, even though the episode doesn't say it, but the subtitles give her a name. Breen is the Oracle's name.
Oh yeah, I saw
Um,
that.
yeah. There's a little goddess Aurora totem that is there, and Breen says you can take it, and you'll know what to do with it when the time comes. Starbuck takes it. There's a shot here that I will say that I like because they sort of sit down when she's like, "Hold my hands, I'm gonna give you prophecy bullshit." And there's a shot of the Oracle's face, and you can see the reflection of the water in the pool on her face. So like when it like ripples across her face. It was just a very cool shot. I liked it a lot.
Hmm.
I just wanted to call that
But
out.
funny you say prophecy bullshit. That is my exact notes. Is prophecy bullshit? Yay!
Yeah, your favorite. Um, but yes, basically, she says Leoben knows you better than you know yourself. He sees the truth about you and your destiny. Yay, prophecy bullshit. She re-says the same thing that Leoben says to her. Leoben said to Starbuck way back in season 1 about her
Yep,
mother.
they cut back and forth as the two of them are saying the same
Same
lines,
thing, the
which
same thing.
I think is a good presentational way
Remind
to
us.
bring that across.
Mm.
And I think actually flows pretty well. So props to the direction and editing on that.
Yes, it's like you wanted to be right. Your mother, somebody told you, you're a world class frack up who hurts everyone, da 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 da, all that stuff. Um, and the Oracle says, well, first off, Sarpa's like, Leoben must have told you. She's like, did you ever tell anyone that? It's like, obviously, I know from mystical bullshit. And then she says, you learned the wrong lesson. You confused the message with the messenger. Your mother was trying to teach you something. And then Starbuck reacts negatively to that. He says, "You don't know crap about my mother." And Breen says, "Leoben sees the patterns. He's coming for you. You can't stop him. He will show you the way." And Starbuck runs away.
So this was the first seed of like me being like, they're gonna fuck this up. Now, again, this does not innately fuck it up in and of themselves, but this is the seed from which the bullshit tree will sprout. Um, so that line of, you mistook the message for the messenger, or like she was trying to instill a different message in you. My note is just, who cares what message an abuser was trying to send their abuse victim?
Yes.
And this is by no means a problem unique to Battlestar Galactica. But all right, how do I want to say this?
Yeah, because
I'm not saying you can't humanize an abusive character. You can. Honestly, I think in a lot of cases, not every case, but in many cases, there's value in doing so because abusive people are still people. It is possible to humanize without asking people to empathize or forgive. It's difficult to do, but you can do it. Where I take issue, though, is that the shortcut way of that is this idea of like, oh, but they were trying to do this good thing for you, or they were trying to get you to learn this, and maybe they just did it the wrong way. I don't fucking care what your reason was for
mm-hmm.
being abusive. Like in terms of your motivation. Like I can find interest in like what someone's damage is that makes them into who they are, but that requires a deeper dive than this is going to give us. So just that general idea of like, oh, but they were trying to help you even as they abused you. I don't fucking care.
Mm-hmm. Very much agree. Let me pause it there because the dog next door is barking like hell, and I need to close the fucking window. Sorry, drive me up a wall. Could not. What? 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 What's so funny?
I am definitely gonna have to cut
Did you see my
you get
crack?
it. Yeah. You're like half your ass was hanging out of your pajama pants when you got up. I appreciate the show, but I have to cut that.
Well, enjoy. I'm glad you
I
had fun.
did. Thank you very
Good,
much.
good. I'm glad. With that said, all right, back into actual mode. Whew. Yeah, I definitely agree. And there's stuff that I will have to say about this as we get later on because I agree with you completely on that. And there's implications even worse that this episode does that piss me off more in that regard. We'll get there though.
Oh yeah. This is not a problem that's going to improve as the
No,
episode goes
no, no, no,
along.
no, no, no,
Like
no.
part of the reason I'm digging into it now is like I actually feel more strongly about the problems with this now talking about having seen the whole thing than I did at this moment
Yes.
in the thing because like I said, for a while this episode was in a super state of like really riding the line and maybe it's not going to fully fuck it up, but I was still seeing the groundwork of how it might fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on getting to the fact, oh no, it definitely does.
What I will say, we'll get there when I get there, but just to put it here, like what I will say is it doesn't go lean so far into the things that will piss me fuck off about this episode, but it does lean into them enough that I think it does come down on shit that I don't like. Like it does not become the worst version of a lot of these things that we're going to talk about becomes, but it leans enough into them to be like that leans towards that type of reading that I really dislike and piss me off. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense, if that makes any sense? We'll get there when we talk more specifics. All right. Starbuck and Anders have a scene. Anders has clearly come over for them to have some sexy times, but this is right immediately after, and he sort of says, "Hey, come with me. You could use some time off. We won't even talk about a relationship, no strings attached." And she sort of turns him down indirectly. She doesn't say no, but he sort of understands that she is saying no.
Well, she
Um,
says, I'll think about it. And he gets up and says, well, that means no. Here's the thing. I didn't write down the specific lines, but early on in their dialogue, it becomes very clear that she has told him
mhm.
about like the dream and about having gone to see
The
and like
Oracle.
that just made me so happy. I'm like, I just love that she's not just bottling this up.
Yes.
Like that she like you mentioned it with Hilo. I noticed it here with Sam that
No,
she is still
my very next note is told him about Oracle. Right in my notes. So
yeah,
yeah.
that she's in open communication with him, which is what makes this 20 times a healthier relationship than Lee and D.
Yeah. I will actually we'll get to it later on, but like everyone in that relationship uh rhombus, we'll call it a relationship rhombus. We don't CD this episode, but everyone in the relationship rhombus is actually like, oh, this is somewhat healthy dynamics. Wish we had gotten here a long time ago. But this is decently healthy dynamics for everyone involved in the relationship rhombus this episode. I'll at least give it that. So
Yeah.
really,
What
I would say it's stuff with Apollo and
my
Starbuck feels decently healthy later on.
yes, my mildest of my three fuck offs that I wrote. It disagrees with you, but we'll get there.
All right, we'll get there when we get there. Anyways, they're still talking. And she opens up because she's like, he sort of says you're dealing with it a lot. You're always warrior like or whatever. And she sort of opens up about the abuse that she faced from her mother. He starts saying like, oh, remember that time that she split your head open with a broomstick handle, and like she says, well, do you know how I got back at her for that? And she sort of says, well, she had a phobia of bugs from her time during the Cylon War because of something traumatic that happened. So I put bugs in all of her shoes, and she started screaming her fracking head off trying to smash them. That only made them jump around even more.
Yeah, these
Um,
fake rubber bugs.
yeah, so basically triggering her PTSD. Um, and then Andrew says, well, you must have caught hell for that. And she says, yeah, she held my my hand in a door jam and slammed it. And then Starbuck says it was worth it though. So.
I'd say that story and her telling of that story is probably the best handled
Mm-hmm.
of any scene relating to the abuse dynamics between her and her mother,
Mm-hmm.
because it ending, I think it mattered so much that it ended on her saying it was worth it though, making it really clear that she didn't, like, she saw the hand in the door jam as a consequence of what she did, but like she still felt justified in her own actions, and she wasn't, it wasn't a I shouldn't have made her mad moment, which it
Mm-hmm.
very easily could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I like, and this is about the one glimpse I gave of like another 10-15 minutes of benefit of the doubt, honestly, based off just this scene,
Mm-hmm.
because this scene gets the balance that you need to try and have very consistently if you're going to try and tackle the very messy reality and emotional jumbledness of these kinds of abuse dynamics with someone who mattered to you and you loved, but you also kind of hate.
Mm-hmm.
So this I'd say this is the scene that gets it the best.
Yes, I would very much agree. We then have Starbuck is out in her Viper with Hot Dog as her wingman, essentially, and they're out for 3 hours. They're flying around this planet while the Galactica and the fleet are refueling. And during the flight, they like sort of fly upside down so they can sort of see the blue sky of the planet underneath them, which was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah,
But
they get to look up to look down
yes,
and see the atmosphere.
yes. But while that's happening, Starbuck sees a heavy raider. So she goes off after it, but on the Galactica, Dratus is not seeing this raider. But they're like, well, there's radiation here, so it might just be that. They say unhook the fuel lines, like let's get prepared to jump, set everyone up for an emergency jump. Apollo joins her, sort of chasing after Starbuck. And as Starbuck is going through the clouds, she pops out and she sees her Maelstrom in the actual clouds.
I will say it is a very good it is a very cool shot where she kind of comes in range of it and the camera kind of pulls back and gives you
Mm-hmm.
the view of this thing in the atmosphere. That is a cool shot.
Yes, and
Like it's prophecy bullshit, but it's a cool shot.
and it is from Starbucks' perspective, red, blue, and yellow, the colors that she's been drawing. I will note later on in this very scene, we see things from Apollo's point of view, and while there is the storm, it is not the same colors.
No,
So
it's
there's
like
that.
just black.
Yes, it is. Um, but she dives into the eye of the storm after the raider, um, and like the raider like sort of crashes into her like through the clouds and like shoots at her, and so she sees like her Viper get damaged, and she starts going down into the atmosphere. And a few things happen. One, we learn that there's a hard deck on this planet that, like, if you go below it, the Viper will not be able to have enough strength to pull out because of the gravitational pull of the planet. So, like, she's heading right towards that hard deck, and they're all yelling at her to pull out, like Apollo saying pull out and all that shit stuff. And she's not really listening. There is a cool shot. It's in Surface again, a prophecy Leo and bullshit, but the shot is cool where she is flying down and we see like the like thunder in the storm sort of thing, and when one of them goes off, even though she's in a Viper, we see sort of like inside her apartment for a brief flash and like the open a figure standing there. It was a cool looking shot, again in
Yeah.
service of other bullshit, but the shot was cool. um and then she eventually pulls out it's near the last minute, so
Pull out king.
pull out, she knows when to pull out.
Important skill.
It is very true. Um, we go back to the Viper Bay, and the chief sort of tells Starbuck there's not even a scratch on the Viper. Like there's nothing here. So seemingly everything was in her head. Gets reiterated when they're watching the gun camera of her firing, and they don't have any view of the raider firing back at her. And people are sort of saying maybe it never existed. I think Apollo at one point sort of says like, oh, maybe it flew off before the camera got it. Maybe there's like it's plausible. Starbuck is very vehement that she definitely did see it, but
Yep.
there's no real proof, and most people seem to not believe her. Um, we then cut to Apollo and Adama talking, and Adama sort of asking Apollo, "It's like, are you gonna ground her?" And Apollo says, "Well, Coddle says she's physically fine, but an emotional basket case." And so it falls. Adama's like, "So it falls on you, Apollo." And Apollo's like, "Well, she's the best Viper driver I have." And Adama says, "Well, sometimes it's hard to admit that the best of us can burn out." And Apollo sort of points out was like, "I think her identity is the only thing holding her together. Her identity is a Viper pilot." And Adama sort of has this good line of everyone gets rattled sometimes. The bottom line is when the bullets start to fly, can even the best of us, he says, yeah, even the best of us can get rattled sometimes. When the bullets start to fly, can she handle it? Is the big question.
Yep.
So, yep, good scene there, I think. Then we get into the not at all foreshadowing scene, where we have Starbuck and Apollo in the memorial hallway.
Mm-hmm.
um, and Apollo sort of comes upon Starbuck, who's sort of sitting there staring at the picture of Kat, who died a few episodes ago. And she sort of says, "Well, where do you want to go when you hit the big one? I want to go there right next to Kat. Hell of a stick to have on your wing." And Apollo sort of just morbidly indulges this. He sort of says, "I want to go there next to Dunk and Nora. They were good card players, so they, good place to hang out." So whoever, and Starbuck says, "All right, well, whoever croaks first, you put the picture in the right place." Um, and she sort of asks like whether or not what did the old man say about my combat report. And Apollo says, "Well, it's my call." And she says, "Well, what do you say?" And he says, "I trust your eyes over Dratus. Something could have been there." And she sort of asks, "You don't think I'm crazy?" And he says, "No, I think you're a raving lunatic." Is like a joking sort of way, is like a friendly
Yeah.
way, as they sort of tease each other. And he says, "Look, stress has made us all twitchy. You've had more than a lot of us have since what the silence put you through on New Caprica." So he's trying to be understanding of her stress, but she sort of zones out during this because in the wax of the candles that are in this hallway, she sees the maelstrom in the wax.
Mm-hmm.
So she's sort of still stuck on that and seeing things. So, yep. Again, I like the scene. This scene, I'll just say it like this scene was like, oh, healthy relationship dynamics from Apollo and Starbuck that I kind of liked. It's like, oh, look, he's like
Yeah.
he's
It's
he's he's clearly being like, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm your friend. I'm here to support you. Like you've been through a lot. I know it, but I'm going to back you and show you support at the same time.
it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's let me put it this way. It is a dynamic I wish we would have just gone to as
Yes,
opposed to
very
the
much agree.
because that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to disagree with you. This isn't bad. I don't trust it because I
Hmm.
don't trust this show.
That's fair.
So it's hard. Like, that's the point that I'm at with this damn thing. Even when stuff is done well, I can't enjoy it as much as I probably should be able to because I can't trust the show to not fuck it up again.
What I will say is I believe with this storyline, the Apollo and Lee stuff, I think, or sorry, Apollo and Starbuck stuff, is fine. I'm not gonna say there isn't stuff that happens here, and not that there won't be stuff involving these characters that won't piss you off in the future. I know there's one
Oh,
thing it
I'm
will,
sure.
but
I'm
as
sure.
as it has to do with their relationship, I don't think it gets ever close to as toxic as it did earlier. I'll at least give you
Okay.
that. I'll at least give you that warning. So.
Okay.
We have.
Good to know there is continued relationship between them. Thanks for confirming that. I appreciate it.
I'm not. Well, I said between these.
Yeah, yeah.
I said between these characters. That does not necessarily mean Starbuck and Apollo. Nah. We then have Roslyn and Adama. Actually, if you want me to be honest, I was actually thinking of shit going on with Apollo and D in the future. There is a particular thing going
Oh,
on with
that
D.
that I'm assuming is fucked.
Yeah, that
No, no, no.
that is
I'm
what
absolutely assuming that that is fucked.
that is more what I was literally thinking of. There is Oh, we'll get there. Anyways, we have Roslyn and Adama walking down the hallway, sort of talking to each other about, I forget what they're talking about, but as Starbuck passes by, they kind of do their little call and response thing that they've done since the miniseries, where like, what do you hear? Nothing but the rain. Bring the cat in, that sort of thing. Um, and he's like, "Oh, we're almost to the finish line, talking about like Earth and whatever." But then Starbuck gives Adama the Aurora figurine. Says, "I think it's it's a good place for your mast of your ship that he's been building. That we've seen him building on and off throughout
The
the whole
the
series."
figurehead on the front of the ship. Yeah.
Yes, the
Not the
mast,
mast.
the mast head,
The
mast
mast
head,
is the mainsail.
mast head is what I meant. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he takes that as a nice gift. We then have Starbuck checking out her Viper, and she is checking it out with the chief. But when she's there, she sort of sees her younger self sitting in the pilot seat and realizes she's hallucinating, so she doesn't like let on to the chief that that's happening. And she has a flashback to her mom smoking cigarettes, and also a flash to her mom shoving her hand in the door, as she had alluded to earlier. So we get a visual of that, which is pretty like we don't see necessarily the aftermath, but the moment itself is pretty gnarly. Um, and also the shot of her maelstrom, so her image of the maelstrom.
Yep.
We then cut to Chief telling Apollo that Starbuck has been sitting beneath her Viper. She's kind of just been sitting there quietly. Apollo goes and joins her. Um, And Apollo, she's like, "Oh, are you feeling sorry for me?" And Apollo sort of reiterates the thing that Adama had said earlier. It's like, "Hey, everyone gets rattled, even the best of us." And she says, "I'm not going back out there. I don't trust myself." And Apollo says, "So trust me, I'll fly your wing." Was Kagsma number two. And he's like, "No." And she thinks he's joking. He's like, "No, I'm serious, whatever it takes." And then they have a conversation where she says, "How are things with Dee?" And he's like, "Things are good. No, better than good. Best they've ever been." And she says,
Which was when I wrote my second fuck off. This one all lowercase, no exclamation points, just fuck off. Because like one of two things is happening here, and I don't care for either one.
mm,
Either he's just saying that because he doesn't want to put more onto Starbucks plate, in which case he's just blowing smoke up her ass, which given what their dynamic has in and can be, I don't think is helpful. Far more likely, given the sincerity of the delivery, he actually thinks that, which again, this entire thing with him and D up to this point feels like it was written by somebody who had infidelity in their marriage and then swears, "Oh, but then afterwards we were even stronger." I Far be it from me to call anyone a liar. I have never borne witness to a situation in which that was actually true. I have witnessed many situations where that was claimed. I have never witnessed a situation where that was true.
I I will say I have seen a situation where I wouldn't necessarily say it was like, "Oh, and it made us stronger upon," like in that specific way. But I will say I've seen relationships recover to a good place from people who have cheated on each other. Um, what I and so like what I will say is I
I'm not saying infidelity is unrecoverable, but the sentiment, and I wrote it down, things are the best they've ever been. Fuck off.
well, again I guess I'm playing devil.
I know you are.
Well, here's my thing. I have an issue with it, but it is an issue that is different than yours. Let me
Let's
put it
hear
that
it.
way. Because I have see I could believe this. I actually could buy this. My issue with it is I wish we would see it and had actually had an episode or something where we see D and Apollo in a healthy dynamic instead of it just relegated to an off-screen thing, which I think the show wants us to believe is at least on some level true. Maybe
Yeah,
he is
that's
exaggerating. It's the best it's ever been, but like I think we're supposed to get the sense that it is doing okay. But I wish we had seen that.
I'm I'm not 100% in the same place, but I will agree that that compounds the issue that I have because I believe that he believes this, but
Mm-hmm.
because we get no other
Yes.
confirmation, no other perspective, the show also expects me to believe it, and I don't.
Yes. And I, that
Like
that that is my
I
that is
be-
my problem with it.
yeah, I believe he believes this, but I need the show to show me another perspective because otherwise the show expects me to believe it too, and I don't. I do
Yes.
not.
Yes. So yeah, that is my thing. I'm more willing to be like I believe that it is possible, like because I think it can be a thing that then happen, but I wish the show didn't shorthand it and you leave it all screens, considering how much energy it's put into the D and Apollo mission, and especially how much it's kind of been the D is kind of a bitch kind of element of it to a degree.
Yeah. Also, you know what's something I didn't mention, and I wish I had
Mm-hmm.
from one of our earlier times talking about this? I remember because I'm annoyed with myself for not having said anything in the record because it occurred to me when I was editing. Um, he when he is trying to convince D that they should stay together, I think this was in Taking a Break from All Your Worries.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Um, he says to her, "I've loved you since I asked you to marry me."
Mm-hmm.
Can we actually pause and examine that? That's actually pretty fucked up. That the point at which you loved her was when you asked her to marry you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that's not right. And I wish I had like caught that in my ear and drilled down to it because listening back to it, I'm like, oh God, that's fucked. So
Yeah.
basically, what he's saying, I loved you from the day you said yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Oh yeah, no. No, it's not good.
that is not, guys, not romantic
No.
because you should be in love with someone before you ask. Holy shit.
I think it is accurate though.
Again, again, I'm sure it's accurate, but it was also presented as unironically romantic. No,
Yes, that I agree with.
no.
I think it's accurate because it was very clearly he asked her after the whole Starbuck bullshit on New
Oh yeah,
Caprica. So
I
like
100% believe him. But again,
the
the
show.
show is taking that perspective. No.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I this is my thing is that I just wish I am willing to give the show like yeah maybe that's true. We needed to see it to earn it. Especially
Yeah.
since we've seen every other dynamic in this. We're seeing Apollo and Starbuck here. We're seeing Anders and Starbuck. We're seeing Apollo. Uh, we'll see Apollo and Anders even next episode. A spoiler warning for listeners. I won't get too into it, but we because we're doubling up this week, so we've already seen the next episode.
Yeah.
But we'll get some of that. But we have yet to get Apollo and D.
See, what's
In this
funny is I was going to say, I bet you they just didn't have her in this episode, except that's not true. They do. She just doesn't have any lines.
Yeah,
But she's on the she's
yeah
on the command deck.
yeah, and it's odd considering where this ends. You'd think she'd have a bigger reaction to what happens to Starbuck at the end here.
You'd think she'd be anything other than a glorified extra. However, she is not for the
Mm-hmm.
purposes of this episode.
Yeah.
And doesn't turn up at all in the next one.
No, nor do I. She might turn up. I don't think there's any element of their relationship in the next for the rest of the season.
Jesus Christ.
There might be. I might be.
So
misremembering.
we truly are just meant to take his words at it. Everything's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't look into it.
I might be misremembering that, but I don't recall. Anyways, Starbucks says I'm happy for you. Funny though, after all we've been through, we're right back where we started. The CAG and I'm your problem pilot. I guess that's all we'll ever be now, huh? So it is true. They've circled all. We went through all that toxic bullshit just to land back where we started.
What a deeply unnecessary cul-de-sac this has been.
Pretty much. Pretty much. We then cut to Apollo and Starbuck flying together. They're sort of like it seems to be going well. But then when Starbuck looks over at Apollo, she sees a raider behind him, but just when he looks, it goes behind the clouds. So Starbuck goes after it, but no one else sees it.
I do want to note, I do like that the way that they shot the raider still leaves it kind of ambiguous because like what they could have done is because like I said, like she's looking across at him and he's looking at her and then behind him, she sees the raider and she goes into action. And like you said, he turns to look. What they could have done was it just vanishes, like outright, like very clear. Oh, it was never there, and he turns and it's not
Mm-hmm.
there. It does actively move behind a cloud, and I like that they did that to leave the ambiguity hanging for as long as it could. Like it seemed very clear, given what was going on with Starbuck and where they were taking her and everything she's dealing with, that like it's not actually there. But regardless, I still like the little visual touches to leave that little tiny lingering bit of doubt where
Mm-hmm.
there's room for you to still question. Maybe though,
Yep.
I actually like it. Small attention to detail.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's well done. Um, Starbuck goes and commits to this. Her Viper gets shot and she starts crashing into the Maelstrom. Um, and Apollo loses her on Dratus, and then we end up is Starbuck is in her apartment on, I think, New Caprica.
It's
It might be her apartment on Caprica
it's
Classic.
not entirely clear because her apartment on New Caprica was a recreation of her apartment on Caprica.
Yeah, yeah,
So like
yeah. Well, anyways, the sound of her.
the painting is on the wall.
Yeah, so
So
presumably it's her Caprica Classic apartment. So
yeah.
yeah. Anyways, Starbucks is in her apartment. I do like the auditory crossover that we get there because the sound of her Viper's like sort of warning lights becomes the sound of her alarm, which is kind of
That
cool.
that was that was good. That was a nice audio transition. I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can be nice. I can be nice sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Leoben is there.
Hmm.
Or is he? Question mark. We'll come back to that.
Wait, yeah, we'll get back to him. I like
Yeah.
here was the here's the funny thing. I expected him to be the thing that really pissed me off this episode.
He's not. He's
It's
fine.
he's
Yeah.
not. He's not.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
was I wish I could say was a pleasant surprise, but it just means something got me way angrier.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, he says, "Well, we have a big day ahead of us," and Starbucks says, "Well, I'm not here. I'm out cold." This, and so she's aware of what's going on. She's not like, "Oh, I'm in a different place." She's
Yeah,
fully aware
which
of what's going
which
on.
is another thing I appreciate. Like she's not accepting her role in the setting she's been dropped into.
Yes. Um, and she's like, "I know fracking mind games with your silence." And he's like, "No games. That's not your destiny, Starbuck." And she's like, "I write my own destiny." And he says, "I didn't paint that symbol. You did. You saw it again in the clouds. You didn't tell anyone. You're drawn to it. You feel its pull. You're supposed to cross over. You're afraid." And she's like, "Oh, I'm not afraid of anything." So you're afraid of the unknown, death. All your high wire stunts have been an act. Time after time, you skip to the edge of the abyss and dance away. Never conquered your fear ever since that day. So,
Yep.
mm-hmm. And we then flash back to 6 years ago. And he sort of says, "All this happened before, it'll happen again." Leoben reiterates that important line that we've gotten throughout the show.
Yep.
Um,
Haven't heard it in a while, but yeah.
yes, and actually, I will connect this to an earlier point because this is a thematic thread throughout both not only this episode but the show, so I should draw attention to it. Earlier on in the Oracle scene, the Oracle says something along the lines of Leoben sees the patterns of stuff. So there's this allusion to the idea that there are recurring patterns throughout whatever history, whatever the hell you want to allude it to. So,
Yeah.
um, and then I sort of reiterated, and this all this happened before, it'll happen again. Anyways, this is Starbuck 6 years ago going to see her mom right after she became an officer, after she passed her Viper training. And her mom is smoking a shit ton of cigarettes. And she says, "Oh, you really did it. First person in the family to become an officer. They tell me you're the best pilot they've ever seen." And Starbuck seems to be very proud of this. Like, first time I got in a cockpit, it felt like I belonged. But then mom is an asshole and says, You graduated 16th, I heard. It's like, yeah, 16 of 117. It's like, I also hear you have undisciplined and you don't respect authority. So basically just cutting down all of Starbucks' accomplishments
Yeah.
here. She's like, "You have a gift," and mom's like, "You have a gift. You're special. I want you to live up to your potential." And Starbucks like, "Would you let go of that stupid dream of yours? Um, like, it's not my fault you never made officer, and that all you have is this and that shitty medal on the wall," alluding to her medal that you got during the First Island War. "I won't make up for all of it. You're a quitter, and always have been." And then she sees on her mom's table a letter from the oncologist, and it's implied that she has cancer. She says
It's
it's
not
metastasized.
implied, it's stated.
Well, she says, sorry, what I meant is she says it's metastasized.
Yeah.
The implication is it's probably something to do with her cigarettes. That's the implication, is what I meant.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so some form of lung cancer, presumably. We don't know for sure, but my guess is that's what this
These are
is.
fancy sci-fi cigarettes, the kind that
Yeah,
don't give you cancer.
yeah. It reminds me, I have issues with the show, but I do all like it overall. But there's this whole thing in the Orville where where it's like it's basically TNG, but Seth MacFarlane runs it, and so they
Yeah.
have the replicators essentially
Hmm.
there, and aliens learn about like cigarettes and think it's cool. And it is a funny joke where they come in and they have like 50 cigarettes in their mouth at one point, and they're like, look, it's not gonna give us cancer. It's like someone's like, oh, those will still give you cancer. It's just, well, you just put it into the replicators like normal cigarettes, not future cigarettes. It's like, ah, shit. So I did, that was a fun joke. Anyways, Starbuck, like realizing that her mom is dying, sits down and tries to reach out by holding her hand. And her mom reacts very negatively to this and says, "I don't want your pity." And Starbuck's like, "Well, you haven't got it. Um, I feel you can feel sorry for yourself, won't be allow it to motivate you." So they kind of have more. Like
Yeah, her
Starbuck's just like,
mother has this whole, you better find someone else to kick your ass, and
yeah, because I won't be around here
because
to
I won't
motivate
be
you.
here.
Yeah, yeah. And
Ugh.
Starbuck says, "I won't. I'm gonna walk out the door and I will never come back." And Starbuck runs out the door as future Starbuck in the open watch and says, "You kept running for blocks." So, as we see, yep.
Okay. So this scene in and of itself is not atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
However, the fact that it's kind of good is going to make what happens later worse.
Yes.
Because to be blunt about it, while I have been fortunate enough to never have a parental figure like this, I have had multiple people in my life who are very important to me who have and do have parental figures like this. And it is a unsettlingly solid depiction of the kind of parent who expects their kid to be everything that they weren't and puts that on them and insists to a child. And even as that child becomes an adult, oh, but you're special. You're supposed to be more than you are. You are never good enough. And also just claiming to want to push them to be better while simultaneously cutting them down at every possible opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the where there's this, and as I said, it's a pretty accurate depiction of this kind of parental figure, which in this scene isn't a problem. It's going to become a problem. But the thing that happens at the very end of this scene that kind of hints at where things are going to go bad is I don't think Leoben uses the exact words "you ran away," but everything about the framing of Starbuck exiting the room and leaving and running, and he's like, and you ran for blocks. Like it is framing it as running away,
Mm-hmm.
which was what got my hackles up at that point. I'm like, if you leave an abusive parental figure, especially one like that, which again, I have is something I've borne witness to, you're not running away from that. You are claiming your own life. And it
Mm-hmm.
bugs the shit out of me to even imply the framing that it is running away from something.
Yes. Well, let's get into it. The
Yeah,
scene,
let's.
the scene where I literally had to pause and be like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like before the scene started, I'm like, "Please don't."
This scene was the all caps fuck off.
Yeah.
Both fuck and off, all caps.
Hmm. Leoben says she waited 5 weeks hoping you come back and she died alone. And he says she's still waiting. And we go and we have a scene where Starbuck gets to go and see her mom who's dying, even though she was never actually there. So Starbuck goes into the room, says, "Mama," and her mom says, "You came back." Mom has all of Starbucks collected, childhood trinkets that her mom has been saving, like drawings and all these things. And Starbucks seems to be moved. It's like, oh, I can't believe you kept all this stuff. And she says, everything, always.
Hmm.
And then Starbucks says, Mama, there's something about to happen. That you prepared me for. I don't know if you can do it. Mom says, yes, you can. How can you be sure? You're my daughter. They hold hands, and her mom dies. And Leoben says, nothing terrible about death when you finally face it. It's beautiful. You're free now to become who you really are. And then we'll deal with it. Let's pause there because there's
Yeah,
other things with
yeah,
this that we'll get
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I know you have many things to say that I am
I
100% going to agree with, so just go for it.
so yeah, this sucks,
Mm-hmm.
and this sucks worse because the previous scene was good.
Mm-hmm.
Because since that was an accurate, or at least a pretty accurate depiction of that kind of parent, to then immediately follow it up with a tearful, I've always loved you goodbye is just it it validates the narrative that these kind of abusive parents tell,
Mm-hmm.
which is the mistake that a frightening amount of media makes, is that even while condemning abuse, they validate the narrative that abusers tell about themselves. And they do it with stories like this. They do it in other ways with when shows or movies will mishandle the cycle of abuse things, because then it's like, well, they couldn't help it, they were doomed to be like this, which is another thing abusers will say about themselves. Like, there's so much of our media validates the abuser's perspective, and this does too, because you have the fact that Starbucks says you were preparing me for something. No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. She wasn't preparing you for anything. She was twisting you to try and make her own life feel fulfilled in a way that she couldn't manage on her own. And
Which
so she pulled,
which the script clearly states too.
yes, she poured the responsibility of her life having meaning into her daughter. And now, at the last possible second, it is reframed as preparing her for something greater. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off.
Which is justified by the fact that she does have a destiny, as this episode
Yeah.
clearly shows. Yes.
And double fuck off. Like, it again, at its heart, it is validating the abuser's narrative. Eat shit.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I let me put this clearly. Like, I agree 100% agree on this. This can fuck off because it does justify, like, oh, I really did love you and I was actually built, like, I was training you for something greater. Like, that all of that can go fuck off. Fuck off on all of that front. This team does that and it can fuck itself. It can go fuck itself for that. Uh After watching this episode, I tried to find some, if there was discourse on this element of how the show handled abuse, an episode of how it handled abuse. I was just trying to feel people's reactions to it. um I'm sure there's some academic papers, but I couldn't find any. I was looking for some. I probably could. I have
I
like a
mean, just given how old the show is,
yeah,
and it's not still in active conversation, it's probably
yes.
harder to find.
One thing I did find to be an interesting perspective on the episode was from a reviewer. I should have written it down. I don't have it in front of me. But this was, if you look up, like, Maelstrom Battlestar Galactica abuse, you'll find it. That's how I found it. And it's a very interesting article that draws attention to these points of this scene having those problems that you stated. But one thing that they are argued, they said, well, I have a very similar relationship with my mom, and one thing that I did appreciate about this scene, even though fuck it off, they didn't put it in these terms, like fuck off for the other things, is the scene frames this as a uh Starbuck is getting this for herself to have closure. It is not necessarily there for the mom to have closure, because there's a way that this scene could have been filmed in a way of, oh, your mom needed you and you abandoned her. And yes, there's that running away thing, but it's like, oh, well, she needed you to be there for her. And one thing that this reviewer said, at least I appreciate, is like, my mom also died, and fuck her. I don't give a shit about her, but I did have unresolved feelings about the fact that I was not there. around it. And like, I know I made the right choice for that, but I still have unresolved feelings about it. And this plays, at least in my interpretation of it, as a thing where this didn't literally happen, but it is a thing that Starbuck imagines to give her self resolution on it. Now, I don't necessarily know if the show intended that or if that's the reading, but it is a reading that someone took away from it that I found to be interesting as a reading of this scene.
It is a workable reading. Because it's interesting, because the specific line that made me write down "fuck off" was Leoben saying to her, "She waited for you. You never came. She died alone."
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm not going to negate that reading, I don't think the show fully supports it, if only because of how Leoben primes Starbuck going into the scene in that room. I think in isolation, once she's through the doorway and in that room, that scene I think supports that reading. But again, that's taking scenes one at a time. In the greater context, I'm not sure it's fully backed up. That's not to remove if somebody actually got some value out of that. Yeah, there is, and like I suppose you could argue that it's him acknowledging Starbuck's own sense of shame rather than trying to shame her for it. If I was to be real generous,
I
but
don't
it
think
does
I
still
and
it does still kind of touch on that sense of shame that she died alone.
let me put it this way. I think the Leoben actor, is doing a lot. Like as much as we disliked him in the previous earlier this season and the new Capper stuff, the actors were good. I do like the actor, um, and I think there's a lot. There's a lot of ways that this could have been played in a shamey way, and he does not play it that way. I don't know if the writers intended it that way, but
See,
I
it's
think the
funny
actor
because this
plays it that way.
this is gonna come up next episode too, where like there's going to be stuff going on. It's like, I don't know if I like this writing. It's delivered really well, but I don't know if I like this writing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I like this actor. I really like. He's in the final season of Star Trek Discovery as a captain character who's kind of abrasive, and he's really good there. So, like, I do like this actor, and I think he brings a lot more to it than is necessarily on the page. So,
Yeah.
I'll give him credit for that line reading. That like I think your point goes to like he's not trying to shame her. I don't know if that was intended in the script. But the actor does not play it that way, and I
No, he
think
doesn't.
that's to his benefit. So
Yeah.
yes. Callum Keith Remy, I think is the actor's name. I think I might be scrumping his last name, but Callum Keith Remy, something along those lines. He's a good actor. I do enjoy him quite a lot. All right. Last thing that we need to touch upon here is after Leoben sort of says, nothing terrible about death. You can free to become who you are. Starbuck looks over at him and says, "You're not Leoben." And he says, "Never said I was. I'm here to help you discover the space that hovers in the space between life and death." I've used space twice there. I don't think that's exactly what he said, but something along those lines. Space between life and death is what he's here to help or facilitate.
Hi, God. How you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
So yeah.
On Here's the thing. I might have been more annoyed with this at this point. I'm just kind of shrugging it off, partially because of you having already tipped your hand with head six and head Baltar. I just wrote down head Leoben question mark. This is one of those things that, again, going back to a long running problem I've had with this show. I just kind of have to back burner it because I can't decide whether or not I hate this until I know what the fuck it's playing at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably gonna be another full damn season before I find that out.
This is a series finale level thing.
Great. So here's what I'll say. For the kind of viewer that I am, this kind of thing, I don't detest it, but it does very little for me because, again, like we've talked about extensively before, I hit capacity at trying to jumble the multiple possible meanings of this and keep them all in my head going forward. So instead, I just shut down and go, well, I'll wait and find out what the hell this means later and then decide whether or not I hate this.
Yeah, I we'll get there when we get there in the series finale. I have feelings on this, and remind me when we get there because I will have comparisons for how this show handles this element of this to another show that I think, well, I won't tip my hand whether I think it's better or worse, but another show that is similar, doing similar things, and I think does so in a different enough way that I have different feelings on it, which is Lost. So we'll get there when we get there.
Hmm.
Um,
See, oddly, given what's about to happen, this whole thing kind of reminded me of Sheridan at Casa Doom
hmm,
in Babylon 5.
yeah,
Or sorry, Zaha Doom. Casa Doom is
yeah,
Lord of the Rings.
yeah,
With like his whole going there and dying there and all of that.
yeah. There's well, this is a series. There's a thing in the series finale we will talk about my feelings on what this show does with this element of it. But it's gonna have to wait there. I'll talk about it a little bit in spoiler minute. Again, when we do spoiler minute, I'll touch upon it.
All right.
Listeners, you can get a little taste of at least my feelings of what I'm talking about. I'm sure we'll have a much longer conversation when we hit the end of the series. Anyways, we jump back to the present. Kara, Starbuck, whoever is going down.
What's her face?
Yeah, Starbuck is going down. Starbuck says to Lee, "I'm not afraid anymore." Ty says, "You should be afraid," over on Battlestar Galactica. She has 90 seconds to till she hits the hard deck. Apollo starts yelling, "Climb now or you're dead." We can still pull out of this. Starbuck, she says, "I'm coming. I'm on the other side." Starbuck says, and Starbuck's ship blows up, and Apollo yells no and pulls up before at the last minute. So Starbuck is dead. Daddy, dead.
Totally dead. Definitely dead.
Hmm.
No chance in hell she's not dead. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely dead.
Oh yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sure you
Mm.
100% believe that. Yeah.
I definitely believe that. How could it possibly be anything else?
I'll say this. I'll say this here. I'll just put this here because it's obvious that something's gonna happen. Who the hell knows? I will say Katie Sackhoff does not appear in the credits after this point. She is out of the credits. And what I will say is when this script came out, Edward James Olmos and why am I blank? Rosalind actors, Mary McDowell, went to Ronald D. Moore's office and said, "Are you high?" and yelled at him. um, and that's I'll at least say that, which is funny. And whether or not there's shit going on, who's to say? But anyways, Apollo says there's nothing like that. Dama sort of says like, we're in the Sunday Rescue Party, and I haven't been calling it out, but Edward G. Olmos has had some decent acting moments throughout all of this where he's sort of been clearly worried while watching.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like I want to also hire Katie Sackhoff as Starbuck because I feel like we haven't necessarily given her acting dues on this. Like I actually noted during her whole "I'm not afraid anymore" thing, like that was another instance of I don't like this writing. I don't super like the framing of this,
Mm-hmm.
but she is
Oh, she's
selling
great.
it.
She's
Yeah,
really
no,
great.
she's doing good. She's doing good work with it.
Yeah. I always feel so bad for Katie Sackhoff, especially now, because like there was a whole thing. She did a podcast. She does a podcast, which I'll reference when we get to the series finale, because she asked some questions to Ronald D. Moore about the series finale in the podcast that I will reference when we get there. But on her podcast, she also has talked about like her experience on The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about like this is a big thing a while ago, how she lost her confidence in her acting for a long time after that show. She's like, I didn't feel the character, I didn't know what to do. I usually act off of impulse, and I'm like, oh, and I want to just reach out to her and be like, oh, honey, that wasn't your fault. That season was just badly written. That's not. That wasn't you. That wasn't you. Season 3 of Mandalorian sucked. So yeah, I feel
I
bad for her. She's gotten some shit role. Like she's always good. I think she's always very very great.
I
She's got
I
some shit
only ever
roles.
watched the first season of that show, and it's I basically ended up in a similar situation that I did with The Walking Dead. Everyone's like, as more seasons have come out and I haven't bothered to keep up, everyone's like, oh, the first season's the best one. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think the first season was that great. Cool, I won't watch anymore then.
That's exactly my feeling on Mandalorian. Season 2 is okay, though ends on nostalgia stupidity with Luke coming back, and then season 3 is atrocious and has one of the most offensive episodes of Star Wars I've ever seen, which is that the slaves just like being slaves, and yeah, it's fine. Um, Also, that season is also the Project Paperclip was justified season.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, there's a whole like we're gonna hire Nazis and well we didn't treat them well enough so they became worse Nazis again and it's actually our fault that they became like they still did Nazi shit after we were trying to rehabilitate them. Was that storyline? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a fucked up season.
I'm never gonna watch that. Holy shit.
Yeah, no, there's a whole arc where like a former Nazi scientist from season one, they like he's in an amnesty program and then he feels like isolated from everybody because they like put him in like everyone's like, oh, no one's reaching out to me and I feel bad and like I have to live in these like side things and I like isolated from everybody because I was a former Nazi, even though they're trying to reintegrate me into society. And as a result, he like tries to go and do other shit and then they punish him even more, and so that's why it like ends up being worse, you know.
We should have been nicer to the
Yeah, we
Nazis.
could have really rehabilitated. If only we had actually really wanted to rehabilitate them, we could have done it, you know?
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Move on.
Fuck that season. And fuck that show. But yeah, season three was the worst. And Katie Sackhoff, I do like I felt so bad because she talks like I had to go to like a therapist. I didn't think I could act anymore because I just didn't know if I had the character. And I was like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, girl, no, that wasn't you. I understand you have like you're friends with Dave Filoni and everyone. It wasn't you. It was them. It was them. Anyways, she's great. Yeah, Starbuck is dead. Adama is upset at all this. Da 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 da. They don't send a rescue party because like Apollo's like, no, her ship blowed up. She's definitely dead. And we get the last scene of the episode, which I will talk about behind the scenes on this, which is very funny. And it's a good scene where Adamas puts the masthead on the ship that Starbuck gave to him, and then immediately he destroys the ship and starts like cries and like just destroys the ship,
Yep.
which is a good
Very,
scene.
very, very well performed. Let me guess, he wasn't supposed to destroy the ship.
So, yes and no. He told Edward James almost told the director that he was going to do it, and the director said, "Go for it." Turns out the ship was a like a museum quality piece worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What?
Yeah. So, yeah, Ronald D. Moore apparently said like, "Oh, well, we had it insured, so there was that." But yeah, if anyone else had been told, because apparently the only one Edward James almost told it was the director. The director said, "Go for it."
And the director
Uh,
didn't know.
yeah. So, yep. So, yep. Unfortunate. Good scene though.
Good
So,
scene, very good scene. God damn.
yeah, yep. So, but yeah, very good scene to end this on. Anything to say about that scene before I do spoiler minute?
Nah, not really. I mean, it
All
was
right.
good.
Yes.
That's kind of it.
Alrighty, spoiler minute. For the next 60 seconds, I'm going to talk spoilers about the series finale. So we are going to talk about series finale stuff. So if you do not want to get anything spoiled, skip ahead 60 seconds, just like Vera is going to do in real time by giving me 60 seconds on the clock.
Alrighty, hang on. And go.
So the big thing for me is I made the comparison to Lost. Lost still has this issue too. It's not perfect in this regard, but the big problem that I have at the end of Battlestar Galactica is I don't mind all these characters being angels. I don't mind Leoben here being an angel, which I think is the implication. All of that jazz. My issue is with the answer to the series finale is like, oh, it was Judeo-Christian God. It was the God, and they have a offhanded thing of like, oh, he doesn't like to be called that in the finale, in the final season of the show, final scene of the show. But it is just the Judeo-Christian God. Lost is a little bit better in this. Not perfect. It still has very Western leanings, but at least Lost makes larger like references to other religious ideals and other religious practices, so it sort of says like some element of all of them is true. It does still overly lean on Western ones that Western audiences relate to, but at least it makes a greater allusion to other religious practices rather than just Judeo-Christian sort of stuff, Muslim Islam stuff. Whereas this show kind of more falls down on just being the monotheistic
Time.
thing that I was about to say.
Oh.
Uh-huh. So hopefully that made sense, audience. All right. I think we've kind of said it, but what do you think of the episode overall?
Look, there are some good parts, there are some good scenes, there's some good acting, but there are some fatal stumbles on dealing with some really touchy and really delicate issues. And it just reaffirms my stance that this show needs to not try and deal with truly heavy stuff. It can deal with its edgy heavy stuff, with its bullshit mid 2000s. Oh, we'll just have these people be naked and like, ooh, look, we'll kill this character. Like, you can have that version of heavy, legitimately heavy topics. Don't fucking do it, man. Don't do it on the show. You can't handle it. You suck at it. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I will say, this is a nostalgia goggles episode, so I will at least acknowledge this element of it. I remember as a kid, this episode blowing my mind, being like, "Oh my god, they killed Starbuck," and it being a really big deal in the fandom. So like, this episode has a particular place in my memory as like, "Oh, this is a big deal," episode. That like got me excited and was definitely, I was in the forums making all the stuff talking about what was the Oben, what's her destiny, she's definitely coming back, all those theories, um and yeah, so it was a big deal in that regard. Rewatching it now, yeah, the episode is just like, I don't mind it up until that one scene with the mom. It is
Yeah.
that one scene with the mom's death that just bungles it hard, which is upsetting because the rest of the episode is fine. Like, I don't like it, didn't knock my socks off, but it was like, this is good and handling this decently well and not doing terribly. Then it has that one scene and just whiffs it hard. So
Down the drain.
unfortunate. But that is everything that I have to say. Anything else, Elvira?
Nah.
Stuff time.
Stuff. You can look for my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks, now with 100,000 subscribers.
Yay! That makes it taste better.
Yeah, for flavor. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. That main thing that supports is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel, where I have new videos every Saturday. I don't know if it'll be out yet, but I will probably have a video on Heated Rivalry out soon, if not already by the time this episode drops. Because that show was so good, it helped me realize a lot of stuff that I normally hate about romances, because it didn't do them. And they were things that not only have I come to believe, but people were telling me are intrinsic to romance, and they're not. They don't have to be. God damn it. Anyways, that's a video that either has recently come out or will come out relatively soon. There's also the Break Room of Geeks, where I stream video games most Wednesdays and Fridays, and also where I put up videos about anything that I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. Council of Geeks can also be found on Blue Sky. And that's about it for the geeky stuff. There's also the spicy stuff.
Spicy stuff.
I don't feel like doing the voice today. You can look for Vera Wild spelled WYLDE, and you can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube, TikTok. You're adorable.
I know, I was not even close. I can't do that voice.
Adorable.
Yeah, see, I can't do it. I can't do that.
Good girl. I'm so proud of you.
Fuck off. Fuck you. You can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style of stuff. You're all gonna hate me, because the Ferengi video will have not come out by now, because I've decided to push it back till April, because in March I have another video coming out. So by the time you listen to this, there'll be a different video out that I think is more timely and more important. And the Ferengi video can wait, and I've got shit that I'm working on, so I need a video in April. So it's pushed back.
I want to start taking bets. I want to start a betting pool for when this actually comes out.
I know, it's the Ferengi video is, well, because the Ferengi video is timeless. It's a timeless video.
It is. I saw it like 6 months ago.
I've had it done for a while. I should just release it, but it's like, I always like to have one video a month, but March and April are going to be very busy with some other projects, off YouTube projects. So I'm moving it to April because I have another video that needs to go out in March because it's tied to the Oscars that I've already filmed and shot, and I have an editor editing it. So yes. It'll come out eventually. If you want the Ferengi video, you can get it over on Nebula, which is a streaming service that houses my movies' identities, as well as the upcoming Tio Subliminal that I direct an episode of. It's also on my Patreon that helps me pay my bills, so if you want to get it there, you can get it there. So if you want the Ferengi video, if I've teased you enough with it, it does exist. It is out in some form of public, for some form of public consumption. It's just behind a paywall, but it will come out for free, I do promise, at some point. All that being said, anything else, Avira?
Nah.
Alrighty, with all that said, I hope y'all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.
Huzzah.